Okay, quadratic function test will be coming up. We are going to do the review. So which functions have a range that is a set of all real numbers greater than or equal to 4? So what I want y'all to realize is, remember, range is up and down. It's bottom to top. Okay, so knowing that, we know if it's greater than, that means it's going to go up forever, and it's greater than or equal to 4. So we know it's going to start at y is 4 as a height of y is 4, and it's going to go up forever. So I'm going to type these in, and we're going to check them. So I like to type them in one at a time. Oop, not 99. So I see that this one, the lowest it goes is 9, so that is not an answer. Okay, this one does go to y is 4, so this is an answer, because we see that it goes, and you could even type in y equals 4, and we're looking for the graphs that start on that line and go up forever, so that is an answer. If we try x minus 3, I don't know why that 4 is in there, squared plus 4, so, oh, I deleted, that's why, y equals 4. So that one also goes through. So this is the blue line. So this is C. So there's my two answers. But just to kind of show you, x squared plus 5, negative x squared plus 5. So we see that that one doesn't start at the line and it goes down forever. So that's not our answer. And then we also have x plus 4 plus 5, which is above the line. It doesn't go down to 4. So that is not our answer. So we know our answer is B and C. Okay, our next problem says part of the quadratic function is shown on the grid. Which statement best represents the domain? So we know domain is side to side, okay, left to right. Now, I also know that I have to ask myself, what's the farthest left this graph goes? Well, technically, this graph goes left forever, because if I continue this, it's going to keep getting wider and wider and wider. Now, the farthest right it goes is x is 2. Domain is x, so we're looking at 2. So I know it's not all real numbers because it doesn't go left and right forever. And the only option that has a window of 2 is C. All real numbers less, because less is to the left, are equal to 2. It's not equal to, sorry, opened up. Okay, number 3 says the table represents some of the points on the graph of a quadratic function k. I would type this in, plus sign table. Plus sign table. I know it has ugly fractions, but the calculator does not care. What did I just do? 35. What's happening? Okay, so we're going to click the magnifying glass. We see our U. Now, I also wanted to graph the line, so I'm going to go ahead and do the quadratic. There we go. So I see my line. I see that this goes up forever. So I know that that's going to be, because we're talking about range, so we're going up forever, which is going to be greater than or equal to. Okay, greater than or equal to. So I know that we can cross off A and B. And then I have to find that lowest point, and I'm looking at the y, which is 3.5. Well, if we, sorry about that. 3.5, if we don't know what that is, we could turn it into a fraction, which is 7/2. So my answer is D. Okay, number 4 says, which graph best represents a part of a quadratic function with a domain of all real numbers greater than or equal to 4? Or greater than, just greater than. So it's got opened out, which they all have, so we can't cross anything off with that. Now, I know domain is side to side. So I know it has a boundary at -4. On my x, so this is y, the boundary should be on -4. So this one has a boundary of -4. This one has a boundary of -4. This one does not, and this one does not. So we know A and D are not our answers. Now it says all real numbers greater, well, the bigger x's are to the right, so the one that goes to the right is B. Okay, let's flip to the back. This one says, the graph of a quadratic function m is shown on the grid. The coordinates of the x-intercepts, the y-intercepts, and the vertex are integers. That just means they're numbers. Okay, what is the maximum value of m? So I'm looking for the maximum, which is the vertex, and I want the height. Remember, so that's my y. So we're looking for the y value, which is 8. If you write 3, which is what I believe it is, you'll get it wrong. And if you write it as the 0.3, 8, it will also be wrong. Okay, number 6. It says, which statements are best supported by the graph? Okay, so it says the axis of symmetry is x equals -9. So x equals -9 means it would be cut in half right here, which is not true. That is not cutting it in half. The coordinates of the y-intercept are -5, 0. Well, -5, 0 is right here. So that's backwards. Technically, the y-intercept is 0, -5. So that is also wrong. And I will tell you, I made a mistake the first time I did this because I just saw -5, but you have to be very careful. The vertex is located at -4, -9, which is correct. The range of the function is all real numbers greater than or equal to -9. So here's -9, and it does go up forever, so this is true. E says the x-intercepts of the functions are negative. Well, this one's negative, but this one is positive, so that is wrong. And then the function has a 0 of -10, 0, which is true. Zeros are x-intercepts, so F. So there are my 3 answers. Okay, number 7 is super similar. We're talking about a rocket. I know one of them says soccer. Pretend it's talking about the rocket. Okay, so it says which statements. Okay, so same concept as number 6. The rocket is launched from an initial height of 25 feet, but if you look right here, that starts at 0, so that's wrong. The rocket will be 175 feet or higher for about 3.5 seconds. So here's 175. Draw it across. And it starts at 2 seconds and ends at 5.5, which is 3.5 seconds. So that's true. The rocket reaches its maximum height at 3 seconds. So that means the vertex would be 3 seconds, which is not. It is like 3.75. So that is wrong. The rocket is in the air for 7.5 seconds, which is true. If 5 seconds have passed, then the rocket has reached a height of 200 feet. So 5 seconds is here, which is a height of 200. Then it says the maximum height of the rocket reaches 250. Well, if you look here, it never reaches 250, so that is not true. I like to check all of them just in case I made a mistake. Okay, this one says a baker determined the annual profit in dollars from selling pies using this equation, where n is the number of pies sold. I like to type it in my calculator with x's, so I'm going to replace all the n's with an x. Okay, and x equals pies. Okay, so it says, what is the annual profit if the baker sells 400 pies? Well, pies is x. So I'm going to type my equation. So P of x equals 52x minus 0.05x squared. So there's my now if you look, I gotta zoom way out to see it all. Whoop, there it is. Okay. And then I know x equals 400. So I want to know how much money they make when x is 400. I can see my dot, which is 12,800. So B. Okay. This one, company collected data for the number of text messages sent and received using a text message application since October 2011. The table shows the number of text messages sent and received in billions over time. The data can be modeled by a quadratic function. So it says it wants to know the best equation, which means it's a scatter plot. What am I doing? So I'm going to do plus sign table, and I'm going to type in my table. Oop, too many. And then type my y's. Okay, we're going to click the magnifying glass and we're going to turn it in. It told me it was quadratic, so I know I'm turning it into quadratic. And here's my equation. So 0.072, and it's positive 0.072, so I can cross off this one and this one. And then it says minus 0.148 This is 15. This one doesn't even have that, so B is my answer. Okay, looking at number 10. Number 10 is one of those ones we would type in our calculator. We're only given 2 points, so we can't do plus sign table. We have to type it, and I like to label my vertex to make sure I make it go through the right point. This is the other point, which is 2, 15. So it gave me those 2 points, and it wants to know the equation. Well, since we know the vertex, we know part of the equation. We know our vertex form is f of x equals ax minus h squared plus k. And I know I have to replace 3 things. I have to replace a, h, and k. And I also know that h and k are my vertex. So I'm going to fill in the part that I didn't highlight. Okay, and I know h is 4. And remember, inside looks opposite. So it was positive, now it looks negative. And the outside's exact. So if I have a negative 1, I'm going to subtract 1. This is all I know so far. So that's all I'm going to type in. I don't know a. A might be 1. I might not have to change anything. So I have this, which goes through my vertex perfectly. So I know that's correct, but it's not skinny enough to go through that point. So I need it to be skinnier, which means a smaller number. A bigger number. So if I forgot and I said smaller number, you see how that got further away? So I know that's wrong. So if I try 2, oh, that got closer. 3, ooh, super close. 4. So there's my answer. A is 4. So this was vertically stretched by 4. Okay, 11. The graph of the quadratic parent function transformed to create the graph of this. So I know the parent function is f of x equals x squared. So I'm going to type that in. Okay, and then I'm going to type in what it gave me. So g of x equals, I hope if I can see it, f parentheses x plus 2, and then minus 5. Okay, so I know this went down, left 2, down 5. Okay, so which one has that? Well, I know that it does cross the x-intercept, so it is not these two. And it's left 2, down 5. That goes to the right, so that's wrong. So B is my answer. Okay, number 12 is similar. Now, I'm not even going to use the calculator here because it has an inside change, which remember, inside is horizontal, side to side. Parentheses are like bad arrows, okay? So my negative on the outside tells me it reflects over the x-axis because that makes it flip from this to this. So that flips over the x-axis, not over y. Okay, so it flips, the graph of the function is reflected over the x-axis, okay, because we're comparing the parent function to this. And blank compressed. Well, I can't say vertically because that number's inside, which means side to side, so it horizontally compressed. So now if it had a number on the outside, that would be vertically, but this number is on the inside, so it means horizontal. Okay, this last one, this squared is my fault. Ignore the squared. Okay, so we're going to type it in. You can leave the parent function if you'd like. Well, you have to make it show up. K of x equals negative 2f x plus 4 plus 6. And here we go. So my new vertex is negative 4, negative 4, 6. Okay, almost done. Okay, here says the graph of the function is shown. Circle letters represented in the zeros of the function. Zeros are x-intercepts, so I'm looking where it touches my x-axis, which is in an S. Might help if you could have seen that the whole time. So where it touches the x-axis, it's in an S, so in an S. Okay, 15 says which of the following graphs, remove that, or use the following graph to find the following. So my vertex is going to be the point, which is negative 1, negative 9. And do write it proper, parentheses, comma in the middle. Axis of symmetry is where it cuts in half, which is always the x of my vertex. So x equals negative 1, and you have to write it as an equation. X equals negative 1. This is a minimum. and the minimum value is -9. The y-intercept is right here at 0, -8. And the zeros, there's 2, are at -4, 0, and 2, 0. Okay, 16, I'm going to type them in. So plus sign, table, -1, 0, 1, 2, 3. And I have 11, 6, 3, 2, 3. Now, as soon as I saw that rainbow, I don't even need to type this one in. I know it's quadratic. The only one that's going to have a rainbow or numbers that match is quadratic. But I can also see that it went back up, so it's not a skateboard ramp. Okay, so I know this is quadratic. Okay, the next one. 0 0.5, 1, 2, 4, 4, 8. And now that looks like a skateboard ramp, so that is exponential. And then lastly, this is -1, 2, 5, 8, 11. And I can see that that is super linear. So there's my answer. If they look a weird shape, please make sure you click the magnifying glass because that will zoom in perfectly so you can tell what it is. Okay. This one says, which equation best represents the graph? Instead of typing all 4 in, which you could do, I'm going to build a table and pick 3 points. So here's a pretty point. So that's -5, 3. This is the point -4, 5. And this is the point -3, 3. You need 3 points. I like to always include the vertex, but that's just me. So I have -5, -4, -3, 3, 5, 3. Okay, so I'm going to click my magnifying glass, and I know this is quadratic, so we're going to click our fancy button and change it to quadratic. And there's my equation, -2x squared minus 16x minus 27. Well, these are positive, and this has a plus, so that one's also wrong. B is my answer. Okay, last but not least, it says the graph of the line represented by the graph. The graph of the line is represented by the equation here. What is the value of the rate of change, which is just slope? So we have to solve for y. So we have to move our x and divide by what's in front of y, which is -2. So that leaves me with y equals -6. 2 negatives makes a +3 over 2x. And the only piece of that is my slope is what's in front of x. X is not part of that. So only 3 over 2. If you write 3 over 2x, that is wrong. It's just what's in front of x. Okay, good luck. Stay warm. Have a great night.